The key is really that you've made it sort of a bespoke programme for each player to make sure they get the most out of it, because ultimately the winter's only about getting ready for the summer. We had plenty of scope to get better. We've done that to a degree. We've now got to move again. To be fair to the lads, the key here is not to overcomplicate it, keep it simple, pick certain areas that I think have the most performance difference when we get out there.
Pete, we're moving towards the end of this first block of pre-season now. What have you made of the work the group's been doing these past few weeks?
Yeah, I think it's gone well. We always have these different phases of pre-season. So the one pre-Christmas is the one furthest away from the season, so it's the easiest one for the lads to explore new parts of their game and things they might want to add to their game. So I think all the players have bought in really well. We've done quite a lot of other things around it, sort of physical prep, bits of fielding, obviously their own skill work, but yeah, very happy how it's gone.
How important are those bits of physical work you did before even bat and ball came back into it in terms of building that base back up?
Well, I mean, physicality is a huge part of our game now. You can't get away from it. Not just in red ball, it's because of the length of the game and the demands on a player. But now with 2020 cricket, 50 over cricket, the ability to do two things really. One, to be able to explode into certain parts of the game, fast bowlers, fielders, batters running between the wickets, but also to be able to recover. And the recovery part is a huge part of it now. Play a 4-day game, sometimes you get 2 days maybe and you're back on again, especially for the bowlers. So to have a very strong physical base to start with, that's what we can do in the winter, and then the maintenance that and sort of building of that, it's sort of year on year thing for especially young players to start to get to the right level.
Coming back in this winter off the back of a trophy and an improved red ball showing as well, has that helped the group? Has it given a bit of impetus in some ways?
It's always lovely to win a trophy because you come back and you've got over the line on something, and the 2020 was a fantastic win. We played some really good cricket, and I think there's evidence in the red ball that we've moved and we're getting somewhere. You've got to balance that off with we still didn't get to where we want to get to, so don't forget we've still got some real challenge out there. We've got to start winning games of cricket rather than being competitive in those games. And I think we started to move in the last 3 games, especially the red ball. We got ourselves in dominant positions and the weather played its part. But that should be a real driver. A real driver, the conference systems come in. That's a real lifeline for us straight away because it means everybody's on a level playing field. So that's a really exciting thing, I think, for the group. But you're going to have to play good cricket. There's a lot of good teams out there. So there's a real carrot, and we've got our work to do to be ready to go come April.
I know it won't just be about the work in the Sobers and Hadley halls these past few weeks and out there outside as well. There'll be discussions and meetings as well. What kind of messages do you want to get across at this time in a pre-season?
Well, I mean, a lot of our winter the game is about skill, and you've got to be able to do the things you want to do, and you balance those areas of your game. So at the end of every season, I'll sit down with all the players and talk to them, and they'll talk to me about what they maybe want to get more, improve in certain areas and what we feel their real strengths are. The winter is their great opportunity to do that. And to be fair to the lads, the key here is not to overcomplicate it, keep it simple, pick certain areas that I think have the most performance difference when we get out there, and start to work them through. And I've been very happy with how the lads are going on that. And lads are at various stages. We've got youngsters like, someone like a Dane Schadendorf doing his first winter with us, and he's got some areas to work on that are more, as a young player would, on some basics he's got to do to, you have a senior character like someone like Ben Duckett, who, there's a balance between having a break and picking certain areas he wants to build on from the work he did last winter. The key is really that you've made it sort of a bespoke programme for each player to make sure they get the most out of it, because ultimately the winter's only about getting ready for the summer.
There are those 3 new players. You touch on Dane there a little bit, 3 additions into the squad at the moment. Dane, firstly, I suppose, what is it that you'd seen in him before that made you think he's got something to offer?
He's a really exciting player, and we needed a second keeper. And Dane's at the right age and the right talent. He's raw as a keeper, so he's got some real work to the keeper, which he's done so far this winter. Some real basics to try and get that consistency up. And batting wise, similar. He's got his lovely talent to hit the ball. He's shown he can score runs. He did that last year, really, playing in the academy and also in the second team games. And he's got to tidy that up a bit and refine it, which is, again, we've been really pleased how he's moved over the last sort of 5 to 6 weeks. He'll get another block after Christmas. And the goal for Dane is really to start to become more consistent. When he's good, he's very good. And he's trying to get to the point now where he can get that more and more regularly. And then he can really start to push then for a first team place.
Similarly, Toby Pettman, someone at the start of their career. What have you seen in him to offer him a deal at Trent Bridge?
I mean, Toby's 6'7", it makes him fairly unique in his own right. Gets bounce. He's got the one thing that you'd like in a player straight away. In that, for a lot of young players, they're striving for consistency. He's already pretty consistent. He hits a lot of balls in the right area. I think there's an area to work with Kevin Shine, where he'll start to naturally, through physically becoming stronger. Maybe a few adjustments here. He'll increase his pace a little bit. His craft around wrist positions and stuff like that. So there are areas he's working through at the moment with Kevin. So he's got the right tools in the toolbox really to hopefully come and be competitive next year, and start on a journey which is an exciting one for him as a pro player.
And Brett Hutton back in the bowling ranks as well. What made it feel like the right time to bring him back to Notts?
I mean, well, Brett's a Notts lad, you know, and with a great record. And when he went because he wanted more opportunity to play. Went away to Northants. He's had some issues going on. He's had some injuries, but he's always been a highly skillful performer. And he's a real English type seamer for me. He's got the ability to move the ball both ways. And what I love about Brett is when you speak to him about bowling or cricket in general, he speaks about taking wickets. He speaks about the practicalities of winning games of cricket. So he's a games player. That doesn't mean he's not a technical player as well, but he really wants to compete and play the game. And it feels like a good stage in his career. Now he has to move, you know, these areas of Brett's game that he wants to improve on, you know, physically he wants to get in better shape. I've got nothing but praise so far for him. He's worked extremely hard over the last 5 weeks. He's shown us straight away he's now a very mature performer. He knows his game really well, so we don't have to change Brett in any way, shape or form. Well, you know, he comes here to be, you know, he's further down the line than the other two lads, Dane and Toby, you know, to be a competitive first team player straight away, and we're trying to help him get to that place where he feels, you know, in the right shape, technically, physically, mentally, to come in and make an impact for us.
And on top of that, we've seen maybe half a dozen or more players commit to the club for extended periods in the past few weeks. How does that help you as a coach to have that core together for another season or two?
Yeah, I think it's really important because it's stability. You know, we've gone through a big transition in red ball more than white ball, because the core of the white ball team has remained, and you've got people like Alex Hales and Harry Gurney who retired from red but not white. Dan Christians are consistent in the white ball team, so that has left a core of seniority in that white ball that's meant the performances haven't really dipped. In fact, they've been really strong all the way through, so we always qualified semis and finals and won another trophy. So that's a really strong place for us to be, and the transition of new players coming in is easier then. So we've seen the injection of new players in, some from outside, some through our own, Matt Carter, Tom Moores, to people coming in like Ben Duckett, Joe Clark. But that evolution of that team it's moved pretty seamlessly. The red ball, we lost a lot of players at the same time, and that's taken a longer rebuild. But promisingly, certainly the lads that came in have really started to, you know, we saw Joe Clark move again as a red ball player, we saw Ben Duckett move as a red ball player, we saw Tom Moores move as a red ball player. So that, as they mature to get more consistent, settle in the ground, make it feel home, some adjustments technically for different players to get it simple how they're going to be repeatable, different challenge of red ball. We're starting to see that. Matt Carter last year was another one who was much more consistent in controlling the game at times, sometimes in the first innings before he could attack in the second. So that evolution is promising for us. We certainly we don't get complacent with that, because we had plenty of scope to get better. We've done that to a degree. We've now got to move again, and we've got to show things like resilience under pressure, the ability to maintain that level of performance for longer, to get ourselves, one, in competitive situations in red ball, and two, get over the line, because last year we got ourselves in a good position a couple of times and couldn't take the opportunity. The first 2 games were great examples, Derby and Yorkshire, when we couldn't take the opportunity to win. We didn't get the chance in the last 3 because it was rain affected, but we still got to do that, and I think that's challenges out there for everybody to be ready for next season.